This is NBC 24 News at 7. Good evening. I'm David Custer.
And I'm Shanique with Stratford. Tonight's big story, an NBC 24 exclusive. A local deputy sheriff says he was assaulted by the sheriff himself.
Now he wants justice, and he's telling his story only to NBC 24's Aaron Brilbeck.
Defiance County Deputy Austin Cape says Sheriff Dave Westrick assaulted him back in April after the officer refused to cite one of the sheriff's critics for illegal burning, a critic who accused the sheriff's son of being a drug addict.
I was sitting there and I heard the sheriff call me at least half a dozen times. He just kept screaming, Cape's and that he won't defend my family and he won't defend the office.
Cape says he went into the office to turn in his badge and gun, and that's when the sheriff assaulted him.
I look back up and he's about 6 inches from my nose, just screaming at me, spitting in my face, screaming at the top of his lungs. I threw my gun on the desk. He kind of grabbed me up by the shirt collar. And at the same time, I leaned back up against the wall, and he just kind of followed me in with his hands on my shirt collar, and the whole time just screaming at me.
Cape says it took 2 deputies to pull the sheriff off. Days later, Sheriff Westrick visited Cape's parents to apologize, but the sheriff didn't know he was being recorded.
I lost my temper because every time I turned around, the first words out of his mouth to Austin were, "Oh, one of the black shirts, those guys that are the druggies. Oh, no, not you, that's the sheriff's son." Well, you get tired of hearing that, and I went off.
The sheriff does not admit on tape that he assaulted Cape, and when we confronted him, he denied it.
The absolute most that I would have done would put my hand on his shoulder, but I did not push, did not shove. That's not me.
And the sheriff says he apologized for losing his cool.
I always thought that we accepted people's apologies. I apologized to him twice.
But Cape says until the sheriff admits there was an assault, apology not accepted.
But the sheriff did assault you.
He did touch me, yeah. He did grab me by the collar, yes. Yes, absolutely. He did place his hand on me.
That's
right, which is an assault, yes.
Deputy Cape says he isn't planning to sue the sheriff's department. He says his claims have nothing to do with the upcoming election, the first time the sheriff has been challenged in more than 20 years. Deputy Cape, meanwhile, has been told by the sheriff's department to take a paid leave until after the election. Shaniqua?
All right, Aaron, so why is Deputy Cape taking his story to us instead of to the authorities?
Well, Shaniqua, Cape says that he's afraid to report the incident to the local prosecutor because the prosecutor is a good friend of the sheriff's, and he says he's getting the runaround from the Attorney General's office on the state level, so he hopes that by airing this story, the state will investigate and possibly file charges against the sheriff. Of course, we'll keep you up to date with any developments. Dave and Shaniqua?
All right.